In one of your recent videos, you said something to the following effect. Where is the real presence of Bhagwan? Bhagwan is present here and now. The presence of Bhagwan is always shining in our heart as eye. Sadhu Om used to say, so long as Bhagwan was in his physical form, it was a type of subtle maya over our eyes. Sadhu Om was a poet. He used to compose songs and he would be satisfied when he goes and sings his songs in front of Bhagwan. He would then reflect upon that satisfaction and would think to himself, how foolish I am. I think Bhagwan hears my songs only when I sing in his presence. But from where is this song coming if not from Bhagwan? Bhagwan is this source from which this song came. This is what you said.
Yes.
So my question now, sir, is, what does Sadhu Om means when he says, but from where is this song coming if not from Bhagwan? Bhagwan is the source from which this song came. So I've got 2-3 options. What option you feel is the best? In this context, Bhagwan is our Atma Swarupa. This is what I am reflecting on it.
Yes.
In this context, Bhagwan is our Atma Swarupa, the Ullapurul, the only existing reality. The birthplace of ego is Atma Swarupa, and subsequently everything else comes out of ego. So though the songs of Sadhu Om comes out of his ego, but since ego comes out of Bhagwan, the songs of Sadhu Om also come out of Bhagwan eventually. So does Sadhu Om mean this when he says, but from where is the song coming if not from Bhagwan? This is option 1. Option 2 is, does Sadhu Om means that his songs are a reflection of his love for Bhagwan? And since only Bhagwan is pure love, Sadhu Om's love for Bhagwan comes from Bhagwan's love for him. Does he mean this? Or can we read both the above implications in Sadhu Om's reflection?
Yes, we can read both. Interpretations, but I think what he meant is that actually those songs, it is coming only from Bhagavan. I think we shouldn't try and complicate it. He simply means that it is those. From where else can those songs come except from Bhagavan? I mean, if we can analyze it, but I think by analyzing it, we're rather missing the point. What he is saying is he himself couldn't compose those songs. It is only Bhagavan who is composing those songs through him.
So the inspiration is Bhagavan. He's just a mouthpiece.
Yes,
that
you can take it and say that. But a lot of these things, there are places where analysis is useful. There are places where we rather miss the point if we analyze too deeply.
Okay. So it's no use analyzing it here. It should be taken from a surrendered point of view.
Take it at face value.
Yeah, take it
His view is that Bhagavan, it is only Bhagavan who is composed. With these songs, these words, this love, everything comes only from Bhagavan.
Okay. So that is one. So now I'll go to my second question. Now, Bhagwan says in paragraph 18 of Nanyar, except that waking is dirgha, long-lasting, and dream is shanika, momentary or lasting for only a short while. There is no difference between these two mind-created states. However, in Guru Vachaka Koi, Bhagwan clarifies that even this seeming difference between waking and dream is not true. He says in Guru Vachaka Koi that actually there is no difference between waking and dream. Do you remember the particular verse, sir? in Guru Vachika Koi, what did he say?
I would have to search for it. I could find
Okay,
it.
okay, fine. It's all right. It's all right. Then why did Bhagwan say Nanya? Except that waking is long lasting and dream is momentary, there is no difference between these two states. By stating this difference, Bhagwan seems to be implying that there is indeed some difference between waking and dream. So if there is no difference, let me complete, sir. Since Bhagwan had himself written the essay of Nanya, he could have easily deleted this difference part. Of course, elsewhere in his writings, Bhagwan has made it clear that there is indeed no difference between waking and dream. Both are mind-created dreams. So why did he say that there is a difference? By implying that there is a difference, he has now put the seed in our mind that the waking is like a dream, not exactly a dream, something like that.
Okay. Well,
yes.
It seems to us that the dreams we have at night time are short from the waking state perspective, and this state is long. Bhagavan is just conceding that seeming difference, but he says, other than that, there's no difference. Even this difference is not a substantive difference. Even if we accept that some dreams are long and some dreams are short, that is only a qualitative difference. That is not a substantive difference. Whether
yes.
a dream is long or short, it's still a dream.
Yes, it's still a dream. It's still a dream. But that long and short part, I felt that is slightly confusing the issue then again. So anyway.
That is what he replied to Shiva Prakashan Pillai. That was what was appropriate to reply at that time.
Okay. Admitted.
Maybe,
so,
perhaps when Shiva Prakashan, we don't know exactly what Shiva Prakashan Pillai asked or what Bhagavan answered. Perhaps Bhagavan anticipated that Shiva Prakashan Pillai was going to say, but waking is long and dream is short. So Bhagavan said, except that, there's no difference between them. There may be so many reasons. We don't have to read too much into these things.
Okay. So it's not worth putting our attention too much on. We should ignore that sentence. That sentence should be ignored.
Yeah, we need to focus on the fundamentals. The main point Bhagavan is saying there is there's no difference between them. Even that difference, that seeming difference he points out, is only a seeming difference. It's only very superficial. Whether something is long or short,
yes.
If for example, you go to a cinema, you watch a short film or you watch a long film, you're still watching a film. It's not a difference in substance. It's a difference in quality or in quantity, let's say.
Yes.
So it's not a significant difference.
Yes. That you have stated at many places, but I just wanted to know why did he mention that. Anyway, it's clear now. So I'll go to my third question. Bhagwan teaches us in verse 12 of Upadesha Undiya, mind and breath are two branches which have knowing and doing as their respective functions.
Yes.
However, their mula, that is the root, base, foundation, origin, source, or cause is one.
Yes.
So by this root, I believe you mean the ego, not the pure self.
Yeah, mula, yes, it doesn't mean, I think in the Malayalam version, he says the mula shakti, the root power. But, yes, we can say it's ego. That's a simple way of saying it.
That's a simple way of saying. So according to our understanding, this one root is ego and not our real self. However, it is not very clear what Bhagwan means when he says mind and breath are the two branches which have knowing and doing as their respective functions. According to my understanding, mind mind's function is indeed knowing. We know things other than ourselves. So mind is indeed, the main function is knowing. But mind in the sense of ego is also the root cause of all doing. Ego starts the chain of actions by first rising as ego, and then other actions of mind, speech, and body follow in its wake. That is what you have been explaining to us.
Yes.
So in this verse, why does Bhagwan demarcate the functions of mind and breath as knowing and doing? As I see it, mind is also the root of all doings,
Yes.
including the doing of prana.
Yes.
Why assign doing only to prana? Could you please clarify this?
Yes. Ego is the root of both knowing and doing. Mind here, well, the again, this is not the sort of thing I would normally think much about, because the prana, breath there represents, as breath is the most obvious manifestation of prana. Prana means life. Without actions are expressed through the body. Outwardly, actions are expressed through the body. So it is through the prana, but action is expressed. Yes, it is all physical activity begins with mental activity, but generally the mind is where Bhagavan is talking here about mind. He's talking about the chit aspect of mind. But mind, there are two aspects of mind. There's the knower. The mind is the subject and also the object, but that all the other thoughts of the mind are objects. The subject is the first thought I. But then we will say, but that is the root. So, but this is all, Bhagavan is talking here from the perspective of yoga, where the controlling of the prana, of the breath, is a means to control the mind. Bhagavan is simply explaining that. For people who are much interested in yoga, analyzing this more deeply may be of interest. For me, this doesn't interest me.
Okay, so we'll just leave it aside.
If we are interested in Bhagavan's teachings, our interest should be investigating the root, that is ego. So analyzing the functions of the mind and the functions of prana,
okay,
just a general idea about these things is all that we need. We don't need to, this is analyzing the tattvas. Counting all the hairs and analyzing which ones are black hairs, which ones are red hairs, which ones are gray hairs, which ones are long, which ones are short. This is all what Bhagavan says in the 17th paragraph, that all these tattvas are to be discarded. So mind and prana are all among these tattvas to be discarded.
Admitted, sir. So we are moving quite fast. So now I'll go to my question 4. This will, now I believe what Bhagwan teaches us in paragraphs 19 and 20 of Nanyar cannot be matched by any other teaching in human psychology, moral science, or ethics. He says in paragraph 19, I'm quoting a part of that paragraph. There are not two classes of mind, namely a good class of mind and a bad class of mind. The mind is only one. Only vasanas, dispositions, propensities, impulses are of two kinds, namely Shubha, good or agreeable, and Ashubha, bad or disagreeable. When a person's mind is under the sway of Shubha vasanas, agreeable propensities, it is said to be a good mind. And when it is under the sway of asubha vasanas, disagreeable propensities, a bad mind. Now, if we understand the full implication of these two paragraphs, that is paragraph 19 and 20, we will also understand why different people behave differently. It is because we are all acting under the sway of our vasanas, whether they're Shubha vasanas or Ashubha vasanas.
Yes.
So the mind is only one which is neither Shubha or Ashubha. So this is a very critical point Bhagwan is making, that the mind by itself is pure, but the vasanas are impure or pure. Is it correct, sir? Is this the correct way of analyzing?
Yes, but pure and impure are relative terms.
Okay.
Generally, when we're talking about the purification of mind, we are talking about removal of all vasanas. But during the purification of mind, obviously it's the asubha vasanas are to be will tend to be removed first, and the subha vasanas later, because that is impurities actually are Vishaya vasanas. Vishaya vasanas, when Vishaya vasanas are strong, that will tend to lead to a subha vasana, to the vasanas being a subha in nature. Because when Vishaya vasanas are strong, that will tend to make us very selfish. We'll be thinking only about ourselves. That's about this person that we seem to be. And so our vasanas will be a subha in nature. As the Vishaya vasanas are weakened, we become less selfish. We're less wrapped up in ourselves. We become more caring and compassionate and everything. So our vasanas will tend to be more subha in nature. But ultimately, all Vishaya vasanas are impurities. Some are maybe more intensely impure than others, but they're all impurities. So when we talk about purity here, what I'm saying is these are relative terms. Subha and asubha doesn't actually mean pure and impure, though it may imply that. It means subha means what's auspicious or favorable or agreeable. Asubha means the opposite.
So I was looking at it from a lesson of human psychology, like how the people behave, why they behave that way, the way they behave. So we can understand by their behavior that these are the vasanas playing their roles.
Yes.
That is one. So we need to rectify our vasanas, and mind will be automatically rectified.
Yes.
That is what the implication is.
Yes.
So could you please summarize and expand on the full implications of these two paragraphs, especially what he says about Subha and Ashubha vasanas? You have already touched upon it. So these last two paragraphs, I believe, are extremely important of how to live in the world, and like how we should not judge people because it's all their vasanas. So what do you say about these two very important this paragraph of this thing, Nanya?
It doesn't necessarily mean that we shouldn't. I mean, obviously, we do need to judge people. If we find a person whose behavior is very dodgy, untrustworthy, we shouldn't give them our credit card or our bank account details. So we obviously, to survive in this world, we need to judge people. But what Bhagavan is saying, we shouldn't dislike people. Okay, but there are all types of people in this world. We see good people, we see bad people, and most of us are a mixture of some good and some bad. In the world, we do need to judge people, and we need to know who we can trust, who we can't trust. There's so many things. So judgment is not wrong. But the problem is disliking a person. If a person is under this sway of asubha vasanas, if their behavior is very selfish, untrustworthy, or whatever, we need to treat them with due caution. As Ramakrishna Paramahamsa said, God exists in all, but you shouldn't for that reason go and embrace a tiger. Because you know, if you embrace a tiger, it's going to maul you and swallow you. So we have to use our judgment in this world. The problem is, we may judge a person. This person is a selfish person, an unreliable person. We can judge them. We shouldn't, on those grounds, dislike them. We should recognize when Bhagavan says mind is one. What is the mind without vasanas? Bereft of vasanas, even ego cannot stand. So the mind without vasanas is pure awareness. So when he says mind is one, he's talking about that the original source is one. But when ego rises, it rises with vasanas. And those vasanas may be subha or asubha. If the Vishaya vasanas are strong, the vasanas will tend to be more asubha in nature. When the Vishaya vasanas are reduced in strength, they will tend to be more subha in nature.
I was talking to a friend and he mentioned about Deha Vasana. He said that our Vasana, the first Vasana is Deha Vasana, to rise. So is it correct, sir? Deha Vasana, is it correct?
That is, we cannot rise without grasping a body as I. Sometimes in scriptures they talk about Sastra Vasana, Deha Vasana, and Loka Vasana. I think those are the three, if I remember correctly. Deha Vasana, people who are much concerned about their appearance or about their health, people who are always exercising or analyzing what is the healthiest diet and how to maintain health and everything, or people who are much concerned about their appearance, who want to always appear very, very tip-top, or like ladies, they tend to be concerned about their appearance. Okay, society has certain expectations of us. So obviously ladies are under more pressure from society to appear. So generally ladies are more concerned about their appearance than men, but even men can be, depending on your position in society. If you're
film stars are too concerned. Film stars.
Sorry?
Film stars.
Film stars, yes.
Stars. Yeah.
Even for example, if you're a civil servant, you have to go to office neatly dressed, because otherwise people are going to think, what sort of a person is this? If you're a politician, you have to dress in a certain whatever the conventions in your country. So certain roles in life have certain expectations. If you're in the military, you have to be in uniform, and you have to keep your uniform dress if it's for a parade. If it's for exercising, if you're doing a military exercise, then you can get muddy and you can cover your face with mud and paint and whatever. So it's according to the circumstances we have the appearance, but that is not what Deha Vasana is. Deha Vasana means an inwardly overly concerned about the appearance of the body, always wanting to appear tip-top, always wanting to be in the best of health and everything. So over preoccupation with the body is what is referred to as Deha Vasana. We all have attachment to the body, but generally the term Deha Vasana is referring to those who are overly preoccupied, either about the health or the strength or the appearance of the body.
Like I am slightly over occupied by my diet. You must have seen it by my correspondences.
Yes.
By my diet, what sort of a diet I eat and all. So I'm slightly concerned about that. So I have got that Deha Vasana.
That is a type of Deha Vasana. But we don't have to analyze all these vasanas. What we are most concerned about is, okay, if our Vishaya, to the extent that our Vishaya vasanas are reduced, the Deha Vasana, Loka Vasana, and Sastra Vasana will also be reduced in strength. So if we've noticed we've got a strong Deha-vasana or Loka-vasana, that's a vasana concerned about the world, I think Loka-vasana, I would assume it means overly concerned about, I mean, of course, it could be taken as overly concerned about sense pleasure, but I think Loka-vasana probably is referring more to, for example, someone who's overly concerned about politics, who's always wanting to read the latest news and to discuss politics and talk about the pros and cons of different politicians and all these sort of overly concerned about the world. As Bhagavan said, when people who were preoccupied with wanting to reform the world and make the world a better place and everything, everyone used to say, he who has created the world knows how to take care of it, leave it to him. So I would say that is probably what is meant in that context by Loka-vasana, people who are overly concerned about the world. And Sastra-vasana is people who, okay, we could say even our liking to study Bhagavan's teachings is a Sastra-vasana, but I don't think that is what is meant. Sastra-vasana means those who want to go on and on reading more and more books and increasing their learning and appearing very learned and being able to quote things. And it's that sort of over preoccupation with these things that are referred to. But as I say, this analysis of the Deha-vasana, Loka-vasana, and Sastra-vasana, these terms need not overly concern us. What we are concerned about is our Vishaya-vasana, the vasanas that draw our mind outwards towards other things. That is what we are trying to curb. If we curb our Vishaya-vasanas, we are thereby taking care of the Asubha-vasanas. Our Asubha-vasanas will decrease. We are also, to the extent that our Vishaya-vasanas are decreased, our Deha-vasana, Loka-vasana, and Sastra-vasanas will also decrease. That doesn't, when I say decreased, the nature of vasanas is, generally, if we've got a vasana, we may not be able to completely get rid of it. Because we all have certain inclinations, but by turning our attention within and curbing our Vishaya-vasanas collectively, we are thereby reducing the strength of our vasanas. So it's the strength of the vasanas that we need to be concerned about. When our vasanas are very strong, our mind will tend to be always swept away by them. And even if we try and turn it within, we'll keep on being dragged out. Our aim is to reduce the strength of our vasanas. The more our vasanas are reduced in strength, the easier it will be for us to turn within.
No, I find it
will be to turn within.
Yes, I find it relatively easy to turn within now. So definitely my vasanas have gone down, but I cannot say to what extent they have gone down.
But be very careful about saying that. Because we may sometimes think, oh, I've overcome my...
No, I'm not saying that. I'm not being complacent here. I'm not being complacent here, but I could feel that. That's a matter of fact. Earlier on, it was difficult to turn within. But now it is. Now I find it relatively easy. That's what I'm saying. It's not. I am not boosting that I have become somebody great or something. So my vasanas have definitely gone down to whatever little practice I have done. That's what I'm trying.
We can be confident that if we are following Bhagavan's path, our vasanas will be reducing in strength. But sometimes we may think our vasanas are reduced in strength, and suddenly they come up with all force. So
they come up. They come up periodically. Periodically, one thing or the other does come up.
Yeah.
But overall, the strength of practice, I am much more stabilized in myself now. Whenever I want to turn within, it's slightly easier, I find.
Right.
But vasanas are still there. Vasanas are not gone. Definitely, they are giving a good fight back.
Yes.
fight continues.
It is not even the vasanas that are fighting back.
Yes,
The
sir.
vasanas are what? Vasanas are our inclinations. So it is we who are fighting, we this ego who are fighting back.
Yes, yes, yes. So the fight back is from the...
Vasanas have no strength of their own. The strength of the
Yes.
vasanas is the strength that we give them.
Yes. So the general is fighting back. Commander-in-chief is the
Yes.
ego, as you often say. So like he's the force behind all the vasanas. He's
Yes.
directing the vasanas.
Yes.
He's there. So I'll go on to my next question now. As we know, the more we turn towards God, or the more we turn towards ourselves, which means the same thing, the more we begin to subside within. As Bhagwan teaches us in paragraph 6 of Nanya, when one practices in this manner, to the mind the power to stand firmly established in its birthplace will increase. This is what I was just talking about.
Yes.
That I could feel that my power to stand firmly in my birthplace has increased.
Yes.
So that's a matter of fact, nothing to boast about. So as our ability to remain as mere being, that is as our mere being consciousness increases, our Vishaya Vasana starts to lose its strength, as you are saying now. We can see this by our experience. Not only that, as we progress on this spiritual path, Bhagwan plans our prarabdha in such a way that he starts taking away the need for many of our worldly actions. He starts taking away the need for many of our worldly actions. As for my case, in my example, he's taken away my business. As I told you,
Yes.
I'm without my business. He has prompted you to close the comment section of your blog, where I was posting so many comments. My entire waking life, I used to write comments. So he's taken away that also. So now my mind and body is relieved of so many necessary or unnecessary actions, whatever you call it.
Yeah.
So it's not that my interests have gone down, but even the scope of my actions have gone down.
Yes.
So automatically both are working.
Yes.
My interests are going down, and the Bhagwan's destiny is playing its part to bring down my actions.
Yes.
What do you have to say about this, sir? I believe gradually Bhagwan makes us unfit for this world. Thereby he makes us more and more fit, so that we can turn within and merge in him forever. So he gives us more and more opportunity to turn within.
Yes.
What do you have to say about this, sir?
Yes. 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 Yeah.
What's your experience? What's your experience, sir?
No, something you was. Oh yeah, I was going to say about prarabdha. Prarabdha is not just a random selection of the fruits of our past actions. The prarabdha is tailor-made to suit us, to suit our present stage of spiritual development. So when in our life we should be engaged in actions, and when we should withdraw from actions, that is known to Bhagavan. When he ordained our prarabdha, he knew all that. So he has shaped our whole life down to the minutest detail to be favorable for our spiritual development.
Any experiences you can share in this, sir, from your life? Any experience from your life?
My life is irrelevant. My life is irrelevant. It's just a passing. But what we call life is just a passing show. It's just a dream. So there's no point in talking about my experience or anything, because it's. I mean, I think yes, we all often we don't understand when we are undergoing our prarabdha for the present part of our life. We often don't understand why we are being put through such experiences. But when we look back on our life, in retrospect, we can see how the various experiences we have been through in life each had their own part to play in our development to the stage at which we are now.
So when you came back to the UK after your 20-year stay, was it a cultural shock to you? Again coming back to the Western way of life?
Yeah,
or
things had, yeah, I mean, I had got very used to the way of life in India. And in the 22 years or so that I've been away, things had changed considerably, even in this country. So I wouldn't say it was a cultural shock, but it was very, very different to to a life I have been used to while I was living in India. But why I had to leave Tiruvannamalai, who knows? Bhagwan has his own purpose in all these things. But I can see in retrospect, but a lot of, I mean, my experiences in the last 20 odd years since I left Tiruvannamalai, it's more than 20 years now, I can see how those experiences all had their part to play in my development. So everything happens. Bhagavan has tailor-made our prarabdha. All that we are to experience has been tailor-made to suit our spiritual development. I mean, we need not analyze it more than this, but I mean, to a certain extent, we can see it in our own life. But it's also we need to understand this is what Bhagavan has taught us, that prarabdha is made for our spiritual development.
No, I can now clearly see this, because I was last 3-4 months now without my business. So now I could feel that my inwardness has gone quite, it has become much better, and I'm able to focus more on Bhagwan's teachings, and I'm much more relaxed now without my business. And Bhagwan is taking care of all my needs, so I'm not at all worried about from that angle also.
Yes.
So it's been for good that my business has been closed down.
Yes.
So it's good that Bhagwan has written such a destiny for me. Now I will ask one more question, sir. Many believe that a disciple or a devotee should go to the Guru. Many believe that a disciple or a devotee should go to the Guru. The Guru should not come to the disciple. Bhagwan literally stayed at one place, Tiruvannamalai, for 54 years, and devotees and visitors from all corners of the globe visited him. Such is the attraction of a genuine Sadguru. The uniqueness of Bhagwan was that he not only stayed at one place for 54 years, but he never gave any lectures on spirituality. He merely answered people's questions. That is, we can say he provided water only when there was thirst for water. Means he didn't force spirituality on people. When we were hungry, he'll give us food. When we are thirsty, he'll give us water. Otherwise, he'll keep quiet.
Yes.
He either sat quietly or entered into dialogues with the devotees or visitors as and when the need arises. Thus, his answers were tailored to the spiritual needs and aspirations of the people he was addressing to.
Yes.
Now, there's one more great teacher, a very famous teacher called Vivekananda. Vivekananda was also a great teacher and was highly learned in Vedanta. But his teaching style was different. No offense meant. I am not tending to show Vivekananda in a bad light here.
Yes.
Just to show the style of teaching.
Yes.
But he went from place to place giving lectures on Vedanta and everything. he became very popular in the US. His speech in the Parliament of Religions was extremely popular. However, I believe he later regretted his excessive zeal for going out into the world to teach people. I read it somewhere that he said that I've wasted my time going after people who were not interested in all these things. I'm not very sure. I'm not very sure whether it's what I read, I remember correctly, or whether it's this thing now. If you remember, you can share with us. So, what do you say about the teaching styles of these two teachers, Bhagavan Ramana and Swami Vivekananda? Obviously, their teaching styles were different. By saying so, I do not intend to show Vivekananda in a bad light. Great teacher, influenced many, had very high ideals, and a great inspiration for many. But just to show the style that a person who has real knowledge will not go to the world to teach. He will wait for the questions to come to him. Then he'll respond.
Yes, yes. Yeah, I think to compare Vivekananda with Bhagavan or Bhagavan with Vivekananda, it's not an appropriate comparison. Vivekananda had a certain mission, we can say, in this world. It was he started the Ramakrishna mission, but has done so many, has run so many schools and hospitals, and has helped to translate so many Advaitic texts into English, and it has centers in different countries in the world, and it has spread an awareness of Advaita philosophy in the world, we can say. So that all he had a purpose. Bhagavan is something completely different. Bhagavan, in the eyes of many people, Vivekananda was a revolutionary. Taking Advaita to the West, he was the first person really to do that. And many of his, even his trying to, I mean, Vivekananda was both interested in Advaita and interested in, we can say, service to the world. The Ramakrishna mission is very outward going in many of its activities. So that is unusual. Usually in sannyasis or retire from the world. They let the world take care of itself. For some reason, Vivekananda both propagated Advaita and was very much into service to the world. Who knows why that is? That is just the way it is. But Bhagavan is something far more revolutionary, because Bhagavan has generally in the past, the idea of a guru, there are sampradayas. There's a guru, and the guru has his guru, and the guru has his guru, and you can trace back sampradayas going a long way. Most Advaitins trace their sampradaya back through through one of the lines originating from Adi Shankara, and he had his guru Govindapada, who had his guru Gaudapada, and I don't know who Gaudapada is, but generally there's this idea of lineages of gurus. Bhagavan completely broke that. I mean, well, he departed from that. That idea of lineage of gurus, that may be appropriate in a certain way, but Bhagavan gave a far deeper and more refined understanding of what is guru. Guru, firstly, is not a person. Bhagavan's fundamental teaching, I am not this body. I am not the person that I seem to you to be. Guru is our own self. This is not saying Guru is our own self or Guru is Brahman. These ideas were there in the past, but Bhagavan has presented it in quite a different way. Guru is our own self. He appears outwardly in human form. I say he as if it's a gender. I mean, it can be, it's more appropriate, our real nature is more appropriate, says it. It appears outside in human form in order to tell us to turn within. That is the function of Guru. It is not necessary to have a sampradaya, because if it's necessary to have a living person as Guru, then when one Guru dies, the next he needs to pass on the Gurutvam to his Sishya, who passes it on. You then get a sampradaya. For Bhagavan, there's no sampradaya, because for those who want the physical presence of Guru, Bhagavan has said his Guru is Arunachala. And Arunachala has been here for a pretty long time, and he's going to be here. That is, the hill has been here for many millions of years, and will be here for many millions of years to come. So for those who are seeking a physical form of Guru, Bhagavan has said Arunachala is Guru. Guru Guru Vayale Arunachala. Arunachala who shine as Guru. He says in verse, I'm not sure, 17 or 19 of Aksharamlai. That is Kutramutra Ritani Gunamai Panital Guru Guru Vayale Arunachala. I think it's probably verse 19. So Bhagavan says there explicitly that Arunachala shines as a form of Guru. So if we want a physical form of Guru, Arunachala is always there. But the main function of Guru is giving teaching. The ultimate teaching is in silence, which Arunachala is always teaching in silence. And even without the physical form, that silent teaching is always going on in our heart. But the Guru gives teaching in words. Because our minds are outward going, we are not able to understand the silent teachings that are ever going on in our heart. So we need to be told in words, turn within. When we turn within, then we connect with the silent teachings that are ever going on in our heart. So Bhagavan came and gave us the teaching, or we can say Arunachala came in the form of Bhagavan to give us teachings in words. Through Nana, Upadeshundiya, Uludunaptu, Arunachala Stuti Panchakam and such works, he has given us his teachings. These are all the teachings we require to turn within, to follow the path and turn within and surrender ourselves completely. So Bhagavan has fulfilled the function of Guru perfectly. That the function fulfilled by Bhagavan has not ceased with the death of his body. Because as he said, I am not this body. When people were weeping, he said, where can I go? I am here. You can take I am here means I'm here in the form of Arunachala. But it also means I am here in each one and every one of you as I am. So even after 1,000 years, 10,000 years, Bhagavan is still the Guru. No sampradaya is necessary. This is why even the foremost devotees of Bhagavan, of whom the foremost is definitely Murugan. When after Shiva Kakanpalai was also a very important disciple, but he had passed away before Bhagavan. So if anyone was to become Bhagavan's successor, the only appropriate person would have been Murugan. But whenever anyone wanted to take Murugan as Guru, he would get very angry. He would say, no, Bhagavan alone is Guru. Bhagavan is the Guru of all of us. No Guru other than Bhagavan is necessary. So Bhagavan has completely broken away from this Guru Sampradaya idea. This idea, he has shown that this is actually unnecessary. It may be appropriate for some people to have to follow a Guru of a Sampradaya, but for those who are seeking eradication of ego, no Sampradaya is necessary. Guru is ever shining in our heart as I. If we want to contact Guru, we have to turn within. So what Bhagavan taught us about Guru by his example, as well as by his words, is something truly revolutionary. Secondly, the content of Bhagavan's teachings are very revolutionary. Though Bhagavan is teaching Advaita, he has taught Advaita as it has never been taught before. He has simplified and clarified it. I would say the most important aspect of Bhagavan's teaching, the most revolutionary aspect of Bhagavan's teachings, and this is the aspect that has simplified everything, simplified and clarified the whole of Advaita, is what Bhagavan has taught about ego. Because whereas in the past, the problem that we faced was said to be avidya, Bhagavan has not denied that avidya is the problem, but he has pointed out ego is the root of the problem. Because for whom is avidya? It is only ego. And truly speaking, avidya is nothing but ego. Avidya means lack of awareness of ourselves as we actually are. Vidya is awareness of ourselves as we actually are. Avidya is the lack of awareness of ourselves as we actually are. That is the very nature of ego. Because the nature of ego is, as ego, we are always aware of ourselves as I am this, I am a body. I am a body consisting of 5 sheaths. So we're all, as ego, we're always aware of ourselves as something other than what we actually are. So there is no such thing as avidya other than ego. Ego is itself avidya. But by talking about ego rather than about avidya, Bhagavan is not talking about ignorance, he's talking about the one who is ignorant. And that is a key difference, because and what Bhagavan revealed to us about the nature of ego. The nature of ego is such that it grasping form, it comes into existence. Grasping form, it stands. Grasping and feeding on form, it flourishes. It's formless phantom ego. So this ego has no form of its own. It cannot exist or cannot seem to exist without grasping a form. So that means the nature of ego is always to grasp things other than itself. How do we grasp things other than ourselves? By attending to them and being aware of them. So by being aware of things other than us, anything other than ourselves, we are sustaining our existence as ego. But in the same verse 25 of Ulunaptu, he says, Tedinal otum pidicum. If sought, it takes flight. So if we as ego turn our attention back within, if we investigate ourselves to see what we actually are, this ego will disappear, and what remains is what we actually are. That is pure awareness. Just as if you look at the illusory snake very carefully, you will see it's just a snake, just a rope. If you look at ego very carefully, you'll see it's just pure awareness. There is no such thing as, no snake there at all. There is no such thing as ego. So what Bhagavan thereby Bhagavan has emphasized that what the path actually is turning our attention within. Though the term vichara has been used in old ancient texts, exactly what vichara means, it was generally misunderstood. People thought vichara meant studying the scriptures and analyzing and reading all the commentaries and understanding this intellectually. That is not vichara. Or meditating, I am not this, I am that. That is not vichara. Bhagavan said vichara is nothing but turning the mind within to seek the source from which we have risen. So Bhagavan though Bhagavan is teaching pure Advaita philosophy, he is teaching it in a completely fresh and new way. And he by his focusing, by his analysis that ego is itself the root of all the problems, he has made it much more, he has presented it in a much simpler, clearer, and more practical manner. So Bhagavan is very, very revolutionary, very, very radical.
Extremely radical.
And Bhagavan has also explained, in Advaita, there are so many different types of explanation you can find. Advaita philosophy, if you want to study Advaita philosophy, you can be studying for a lifetime Advaita philosophy, and there'll still be more to read. That is, there are volumes and volumes and commentaries and commentaries and a lot of Advaita philosophy. If you read texts like, I think Panchadasi or whatever it is, These are extremely complex, big voluminous texts full of all types of complex philosophy. And because of the philosophical milieu in which, around at the time of Shankara, before Shankara and after Shankara, Advaita was one among many competing philosophies. So Advaita, if you read Advaita, they also talk, some of the old Advaita texts, they also answer all philosophical philosophical concerns that need not be of a concern to someone who is following the spiritual path, like about the different types of pramanas, different, what are the pramanas? The pramanas means the sources of knowledge. Perception, inference, there's so many different types of pramana, and each school of philosophy chooses different. I mean, some schools of philosophy accept more forms of pramana, and some accept less. Advaita got involved in all these type of things, which are all about knowledge about things other than ourselves. Advaita, what is the fundamental principle of Advaita? Ekam eva advityam. The reality is one only without a second. When it's one only without a second, why should we be concerned about knowledge of anything other than ourselves? But because of the philosophical, because in those days, India was a hot, that is Indian, learned, educated people, they were very preoccupied with philosophy. India was a hotbed of philosophy. So many different types of philosophy. There were the Astika philosophies, those that accepted the Vedas. There were Nastika philosophies that didn't. There was Charvaka, which is materialism. There was Jainism. There were various schools of Buddhism. There was so many different schools and sub-schools, and all these were argued. So in Advaita was one among those, and therefore a lot of what went under the name of Advaita was something that should not be the concern of Advaita. Advaita is concerned only with the one only without a second. So Bhagavan has discarded, or he's taken, Bhagavan hasn't touched at all upon a lot of any of the superfluous ideas that went under the name of Advaita in the past. Bhagavan has focused only on what is the problem. The problem is we've risen as ego. If ego comes into existence, everything comes into existence. If ego doesn't exist, everything doesn't exist. Ego itself is everything. Therefore, investigating what this ego is giving up everything. Bhagavan has, in the few verses of Ulladu 23, 24 to, 20, well, yeah, you can say 23, 24, 25, 26. These 4 verses, Bhagavan has summarized and simplified the whole of Advaita philosophy in a completely radical way. Other verses of Ulladu, he's touching upon the same subject, but in these verses, he's given it particularly in 24, 25, 26, these 3 verses, he really packed everything in there, everything that we need to know to understand the essence of Advaita philosophy. And if you understand those 3 verses, you will be understanding Advaita more clearly than the most learned scholars who've studied all the ancient texts. So Bhagavan is revolutionary.
Highly revolutionary. Now, I have seen you talking a lot about Ramakrishna, but never about Vivekananda, because you have high regards for Ramakrishna.
Yes.
I believe.
Ramakrishna was, Vivekananda and Ramakrishna are very different. Though Ramakrishna was the guru of Vivekananda, Vivekananda had his own mission. Ramakrishna, if one reads the Gospel of Ramakrishna, which is the only book I've really about Ramakrishna, but I've really read, one cannot help loving him. I mean, he is such a simple devotee, but at the same time, you can see the jnana shining through so clearly. I think anyone who is attracted to Bhagavan's path will naturally feel a love for Ramakrishna if they know about him. If they read his the Gospel of Ramakrishna, naturally we will feel a love, because what shone in the form of Bhagavan also shone in the form of Ramakrishna. It's the reality behind them is one and the same. That is the reality that shone in those two forms. Those two forms have very different functions and very different, very outwardly they're very different, but inwardly it's the same reality that is shining through the two of them. I think there's no doubt about that. About Vivekananda, I personally, I mean, I understand that he had a certain mission to do, but there's nothing about Vivekananda that particularly appeals to me. But that's just my personal thing. I mean, I know many people really like Vivekananda, but there's nothing but, I mean, I've read some things of Vivekananda. I haven't read a lot, but a little that I've read here and there. There's some ideas I like, but there's not really anything particularly in Vivekananda or in his outward life that appeals to me.
Sri Ramakrishna also said,
respect, I say that. I mean, I've got nothing against him.
We have got nothing against, because at one time I was attracted to Vivekananda. I've read all his volumes of books. So, but now after coming to Bhagwan, I've forgotten Vivekananda. Anyway, that's not the point here. The Sri Ramakrishna also said at one place that you can know God only by knowing I. Yes, so ultimately, he's also coming to the same teaching.
Yes. If we read Gospel of Ramakrishna, we can find here and there so many gems which are very nicely reflecting what Bhagavan taught us.
Yes. So my next question relates to both of them, Bhagwan and Ramakrishna, in some way. So I'll ask that now. As we know, both Sri Ramakrishna and Sri Ramana had cancer. Sri Ramakrishna had throat cancer, I believe, and Sri Ramana had sarcoma on his shoulders. Sarcoma, is it the correct word, sir?
I think so. I think that
I'm not very sure about the word.
It's a nerve cancer.
Nerve cancer, whatever it is. Somebody said it's sarcoma or something.
Sarcoma, I believe it is a type of sarcoma, yes.
Sarcoma, anyway, whatever it is. Now, Bhagwan's life itself was a great teaching. So his cancer and his attitude towards his disease was itself a great lesson for all of us. He was totally unconcerned about his bodily condition when his cancer set in. In fact, he had many operations for his cancer, but he refused to take anesthesia in most of his operations. You have told us this, that in most of the operations he refused anesthesia. Maybe in one he took it, that is also not very sure.
Yeah.
So Bhagwan clearly showed us through his attitude to his disease that he was not that body which we mistook him to be. Yes. So that was also a lesson, that having that cancer and being totally unconcerned about it.
Yes.
Obviously, the devotees around him were very concerned about his health. So some of them came up to him and said, Bhagwan, we know you can cure yourself if you take sankalpa to cure yourself.
Yes.
So Bhagwan, with a smile, used to replied, I should have a mind to make any sankalpa, but there is no mind here. So he clearly showed that he was above all body and mind.
Yes.
Now, another incident, when the devotee said, the body itself is a disease. Now, one more time, Bhagwan said, when people were really concerned about this disease, he said, pointing to his body, that this body itself is a disease. So if a disease comes to the body, a disease has come to the original disease, so it is good. I don't know whether he's said it or not, but
Yeah.
I've read it somewhere.
I think he did say something to that effect.
Yes. So of course, if you understand his overall teachings, we will understand that according to Bhagwan, the primary disease or the root of all disease is only ego.
Yes.
Primary is only ego. The body is a secondary disease.
Yes.
And whatever disease the body has is only a tertiary disease. This is what you explained in one of your videos.
Yes.
So I just wanted your comment on this, that his cancer and his lessons, which we can learn from his attitude to cancer.
Yes, I think you've more or less said it. Yeah, Bhagavan, yeah, he exemplified his complete indifference to the body, how he was unaffected by the body.
So it was a great lesson for us.
Yes, yes.
Because his entire life is a lesson.
Yeah.
And somewhere I have read, of course, I don't believe it, that Sri Ramakrishna and Sri Ramana had cancer because they took over the sins of the devotees. But I don't think so. It is a reasonable idea.
That is, yeah, that belief is there. Some people believe that. who are we to
but these saints haven't.
People are entitled to believe whatever they want. If they want to believe that, that's fine. But Bhagavan, when Bhagavan is Shiva, when Shiva drank the Hala Hala Visham, it just made his throat blue. It didn't kill him. So Bhagavan wouldn't be affected. He can burn all our sins. He does burn all our sins because he burns the root of all sins, which is ego. But he does so without himself being affected. But from the onlooker's view, because we see him as a body, we may say that body has been affected by the sins of his devotees. Who knows? Why should this concern us? Why should this concern us? But Bhagavan is not, though through the body he taught us, he gave us his teachings, and he also exemplified total detachment from body. He is not that body. So,
but these saints, Ramakrishna and Bhagwan having cancer, does it indicate something, or these are just coincidences? These are.
Who are we to say what it indicates? If we say it indicates this or it indicates that, it's speculation. It's just an interpretation. Bhagavan, one of Bhagavan's important teachings is, do not believe what you do not know. We don't know why Bhagavan got cancer. We don't know why Ramakrishna Paramahamsa got cancer. Why should we speculate and give... okay, maybe some devotees may like to think, oh, Bhagavan is taking on, and Ramakrishna were taking on the sins of their devotees. If people want to believe that, if it increases their devotion to Bhagavan, well and good. But I think... I certainly wouldn't be interested in speculating about these things.
I agree.
What, as Bhagavan said, what is to happen will happen. What is not to happen will not happen. So let things happen as they are to happen. We shouldn't be concerned with happenings. We should be concerned with knowing ourselves, the one who is aware of all happenings. Happenings occur what? In the view of ego. Who am I who am aware of all these happenings? That should be our concern. So that is, in today's conversation, we've talked about a lot of things. Most of them actually are rather extraneous, rather superfluous to what our main concern should be. That is, what is the core of Bhagavan's teaching? Is investigating ourselves to find out who we are, investigating this ego, and thereby eradicating it. So we should focus on these things. We can go on thinking about Ramakrishna, about Vivekananda, about comparisons of with different philosophies and all these things. These can go on. I mean, this gives no end to thought for the mind. I mean, no end for food for the mind. It gives us more and more to think about. But if we are trying to follow Bhagavan's path, we are trying to wean our mind off its interest in anything other than knowing ourselves, knowing and surrendering ourselves.
I agree, sir. I agree, sir. Now I will come to Bhagwan's pure teachings.
Right.
As you said that we have not touched now, but now I will touch it in the end. Sir, as you have said at many places, Bhagwan's path of self-investigation and self-surrender bypasses all religions. And at the same time, it is the essence of all religions and paths.
Yes.
As Bhagwan says in verse 10 of Upadesha Undiyar, subsiding and being in the place from which one rose, that is karma and bhakti, that is yoga and jnana.
Yes.
We can also read verses 13 and 14 of Ulladin Narpadu Anubandham in this context.
Yes.
In verse 13, Bhagwan says, know that destroying the feeling I am the body, that is Dehatma Buddhi, is charity, which is dana in Hindi or Sanskrit, asceticism, which is called tapas, oblation, which is yaga, righteousness, which is dharma, union, which is yoga, devotion, bhakti, heaven, swarga, and bliss. So what Bhagwan is saying in verse 13 is, knowing and destroying the feeling I am the body is itself charity, asceticism, oblation, righteousness, union, devotion, heaven, and bliss. In verse 14 he says, investigating to whom are these four defects, karma, vibhakti, yoga, and jnana, is itself karma, bhakti, yoga, and jnana. So having come to Bhagwan's path of Atma-vichara, we can and should let go of all other traditional paths like karma, bhakti in that sense of the traditional sense of bhakti, yoga, jnana. We also no more need to do any dana, that is this charity, tapas, yaga, homa, yaga, and all those rituals, dharma. So Bhagwan has simplified our spiritual journey to a great extent. He has brought a great focus in our life. All these are extraneous. Leave them all aside.
Yeah.
Just focus on one thing, self-investigation and self-surrender. So we just need to turn within and attend to ourselves. We can forget about all other karmas and dharmas. So this is the unique revolutionary, as we were talking about Bhagwan's revolution. So this is another a clear focus. Even if you read Vivekananda, you will find he talks about everything. He's somewhere talking about jnana marga, somewhere yoga marga, bhakti marga, but Bhagwan has clearly said there's only one marga, that is turning within.
Yes.
Focusing your attention on I.
Yes.
Diving deep into I and losing yourself in I. That's the entire teaching spiritual journey you have.
Yes.
So now you have to summarize what I say is correct, and what would you like to add on this?
Yes, that is about religion. It is some people may consider Bhagavan's path to. I mean, there are devotees of Bhagavan who, for whom Bhagavan is, well, for all of us, Bhagavan is God, but they treat Bhagavan as God in a religious sort of sense. But actually what the core of Bhagavan's teachings is bypassing the need for any religion. Religion in the sense that is, bhakti is obviously necessary, but the outward forms of bhakti which are generally associated with religion, these outward forms are not necessary. And also, generally, religion is associated with belief and with identity. That is, if you're a religious person, you identify with a certain religion or certain sect. And that sect or religion has certain set of beliefs that you subscribe to. If you say, I'm a Sunni Muslim or a Shia Muslim, or I'm a Sufi, or I'm a Jew, even among Jews, there are so many different types of Jews. Among Christians, there are so many different churches. There's Catholics, there's Orthodox, there's Protestants, and among the Protestants, there's so many groups and subgroups. Hinduism, as we know, is not one religion, it's a whole family of religions. There's so many, you can be a Shaivite, you can be a Vaishnavite, you can follow one philosophy, you can follow another philosophy. But generally, if you're a religious person, you identify yourself with a certain set of beliefs. You subscribe to those beliefs. And generally, religious beliefs are beliefs without that is, you believe them because that is what you're supposed to believe if you belong to a certain sect. But there's no, like, for example, if you believe Jesus Christ died on the cross in order to remove our sins, there's no, that is just a belief. It's a belief without any, it may, for Christians, that may be a very, very important belief, but it's a belief for which there is no adequate evidence. It's a belief, but it's just, if you want to be a Christian, you have to believe that sort of thing. So religions are very much about certain beliefs that shouldn't be questioned, and about identity with a certain religion or certain sect. True spirituality, as revealed by Bhagavan, is questioning. We have to question all our beliefs. The most fundamental belief we have is, I am this person, I am such and such a person. All other beliefs are built on this fundamental belief, I am, Atma-vichara, that is the fundamental belief, I am this person. So all beliefs are built on that. Bhagavan asks us to question that root of all beliefs. And also we have so many other beliefs, like we all generally assume that the world exists independent of our perception of it. Bhagavan asks us to, calls that belief into question. So spirituality requires us to be ready to question and reject all our beliefs. The only thing we cannot, the only belief that is not a belief because we cannot reasonably doubt it, is the awareness I am. We know I am. That is something that we cannot reasonably doubt, because in order to doubt it, we must exist. So our existence and our awareness are the two things we cannot doubt. Everything else can be doubted. And Bhagavan asks us to doubt everything. That is, so Bhagavan asks us to question all beliefs. And most importantly of all, Bhagavan asks us to question and investigate our identity. Okay, I am a Christian, I am a Muslim, I am a Hindu, I am a Buddhist, I am a Taoist, or I'm an atheist. All these identifications, who is all these things? I am. That I refers to what? It doesn't refer to the pure awareness, it refers to me as this person, Michael. I, Michael, choose to identify myself with a certain religion, with a certain country, with a certain set of politics, with this and that. All these identities are rooted in the Dehatma-buddhi. Bhagavan is asking us to question this Dehatma-buddhi. Since the body is oneself, that is that awareness, I am this body, that is the root of all problems, according to Bhagavan. That is what we need to investigate. So in spirituality, we are questioning and investigating. I mean, we are going to the root of all identity and all beliefs, and questioning that, investigating that. Religion, on the other hand, it expects us to have a certain identity and a certain set of beliefs according to whatever we identify. If I say I'm a Sunni Muslim, then I have to believe certain things. I can't say I'm a Sunni Muslim, but I don't believe in the Quran. I don't believe in Muhammad. It doesn't work like that. You have to believe in these things. Otherwise, you don't belong to that. Likewise with any religion. So spirituality and religion are going in two opposite directions. But religion can be it is often or possibly in most cases, religion is a way to come to spirituality. But to the extent that one becomes truly spiritual, one has to be ready to shed beliefs, one has to be ready to shed identity. So though most people may come to the spiritual path through one religion or another, we are able to follow the spiritual path only to the extent that we are ready to set aside all religious beliefs and identity.
Yes, because Bhagwan, the main, he has brought a great focus in my life. That focus was not there earlier. I was trying to do spirituality, but I was not very sure what it is all about.
Yes.
But since I've been in touch with you, so you have refined my understanding. Now the focus has come. So now it is very clear. The path is clear, the goal is clear, the way is clear. Now we have to just walk on the path.
Yes.
So that is the great contribution of Bhagwan in our
one
life.
One thing, what I said about religion, that why I'm saying that is just to say that religion, that is meant for many people, particularly for outsiders, people may think, consider us to be religious people because we're following a guru. It's okay if people choose to take us as religious, but there is a difference between following Bhagavan and following a religion, because Bhagavan doesn't ask us to believe anything unquestioningly. Bhagavan does give us a certain set of teachings, and naturally we will follow Bhagavan's path only if we are ready to believe what he has taught us. But he gives us good reasons to believe what he has taught us. So Bhagavan doesn't ask us to have unquestioning belief in anything, whereas religion does ask us to have unquestioning belief in something. So from our perspective, we may not be religious. For other people's perspective, they may see us as religious. It really doesn't matter. After all, what is the term religion? It's just another label. Even scholars of religion, that is religious studies scholars, one of the fundamental problems of religious studies is defining what is meant by religion. There have been volumes written by scholars on what is arguing about what is it that defines religion, and it's very difficult to define what is religion. So when we're talking about religion, we're talking about a very vague set of ideas. Likewise, even spirituality, people have different ideas of what is spirituality. So we are talking about spirituality as we understand it from Bhagavan's teaching. But other people will understand spirituality in other ways. So there are many people who may be quite spiritual people who believe that you cannot be truly spiritual without being religious. So they're entitled to their belief. I'm not trying to dispute with them. I'm just saying that if we are truly following Bhagavan's path, we need not identify ourselves as belonging to any religion. You don't have to be a Hindu to follow Bhagavan's path. You don't have to be anything to follow Bhagavan. You have to be aware I am. So long as you're aware I am, you're fit to follow Bhagavan's path. You're qualified to follow Bhagavan's path. And in this connection, there's one nice story about how little importance Bhagavan attached to religion. There was a devotee of Bhagavan called David Mckeever. He was a Scotsman, but though he was a Scotsman, he lived all his life in India. He was born in Mumbai. I think his father must have been some civil servant or something, I don't know, or a merchant or a businessman or something. But anyway, he was born and he lived all his life in India. He was always interested in religious and spiritual things. As a young man, he was interested in the Theosophical Society. And then he became a follower of Krishnamurti when Krishnamurti had the Order of the Star, and Krishnamurti was going to be the great Messiah. And then he became interested in other things. He came to Bhagavan, but even after coming to Bhagavan, he was still dabbling in different types of religion. One of my friends, some old friend who has passed away now, he said he was once in Bhagavan's hall. This is maybe in the 1930s or 40s. He was once in Bhagavan's hall when a tall Muslim came in with a beard dyed with henna and long robes on, looking like a typical Muslim. And he came and he bowed before Bhagavan and offered some dates, or whatever he offered. Bhagavan looked around at the people and he saw nobody recognized who this is. Bhagavan said, "Don't you know, this is our Mckeever?" And then Mckeever said, "I've become a Sufi." So some time later, Mckeever went away and he was on holiday in Kashmir for some months. I think he went there one summer. And when he returned to Ramanashram, he came dressed as an Orthodox Brahmin with a Panchakacha dhoti and a sacred thread, and maybe even a little thing of hair tied at the back. Anyway, he was looking like an Orthodox Brahmin. And he came and he prostrated before Bhagavan, and he said to Bhagavan, "Bhagavan, I've become a Hindu." Bhagavan simply looked at him and said, "Who has become what?" So for Bhagavan, all these religious identities are so unimportant. Who has become what? That is the essence of Bhagavan's teaching. That is not the what bit, but the who bit.
Yes, sir. But after being in touch with you since last 8 years, I can clearly say that you know more about Hindu. You are a better Hindu than we Hindus. You have got a much deeper understanding of Indian culture, Hindu way of life, Hinduism. So though, of course, you have gone very deep into Bhagwan's life and teachings, you have also dived very deep into the Indian way of life and Hindu culture.
Yes.
Has it been your interest also?
Hindu culture, what is called Hinduism, which is more than just a religion, it's a whole culture, it's a whole family of religion. It is a vast ocean. I don't think any person could be said to be an expert on Hinduism, because there'll always be aspects of Hinduism that we don't know about, because it is such a vast, even the most learned people cannot know all the different Hindu philosophies, all the different Hindu sects and sampradayas and beliefs and texts. It's a vast, vast ocean. That is the Hindu, if we call it a religion, or the Hindu culture, it has been evolving over thousands of years, from the Vedic times and possibly even the pre-Vedic times, through so many, and it's an ever-evolving phenomena. I mean, the Hinduism of the Vedic period was quite different to the Hinduism of later periods. But in the Hindu period, bhakti as we now know it, that was a much later development within Hinduism. So it's such a vast thing. From my point of view, I know a tiny amount about Hinduism. Because I lived in India, I may know some of the outward forms of Hindu practices, going to the temple, doing pradakshina, and the various types of rituals people do, the family rituals like the Shraddha ceremony. I understand, I've got a general idea about all these things and about the various festivals and things, but there's so much I don't know. My main interest is Bhagavan's teachings. And because of my interest in Bhagavan's teachings, I'm interested in Advaita more generally, not because I think it's necessary to know anything other than Bhagavan's teachings to understand Advaita fully. We can't, when we can't, that is naturally when we learn about Bhagavan's teachings, we learn more about the cultural background. We are about Advaita philosophy as it is understood more broadly. And yes, so I know quite a bit about, from what I picked up here and there, about how Advaita is understood by others. So possibly I've got a limited expertise in Advaita philosophy, but to tell you the truth, I have not read the Upanishads, I've not read the commentaries, I've not read any of the Prastana. I may have read the Bhagavad Gita once, some translation, I can't remember, but I'm familiar with a few verses from Bhagavad Gita here and there. I may be familiar with a few extracts. I mean, I know what are generally considered to be the Mahavakyas, and I know a few passages, I mean, a few sayings from the Upanishads, but I don't really know any Upanishad thoroughly. I haven't even read Gaudapada's Mandukya Karika fully. So I can no way be said to be a true expert in Hinduism or even in Advaita. But
you see,
I think I know what is most useful to know, which is Bhagavan's teachings, and that
yes,
is
yes, definitely. That was what I was trying to say, that you know the source from where the Upanishads and the Vedanta has originated, that is Bhagwan.
That is, if we understand Bhagavan's teachings, we can see everything else in perspective.
Yes. But I can see that you have more affinity to Hinduism than even to your own original religion, Christianity.
Definitely. I mean, I think of all the religious cultures in the world, the Indian culture is the richest in terms of philosophy and spirituality. It is definitely the richest culture, and also many religions. That is, there's far more freedom of belief within Hinduism than there is within other religions. If you want to be a Catholic, you have to believe certain things. If you want to be a Protestant, you have to believe certain things. If you want to be a Sunni Muslim, you have to believe certain things. If you want to be a Shia Muslim, you have to believe certain things. So, whereas within the Indian family of religions, which includes, I mean, to me, Hinduism isn't limited just to what is generally nowadays. I mean, it includes Buddhism, Sikhism. These are all part of the same family of religions. I think to demarcate certain parts as Hinduism and certain parts as non-Hinduism is a bit of an artificial demarcation. It's all one family of religions. And there's far more, I mean, there's never been imposition of belief, as there tends to be in other religions, whereas other religions dictate you must believe this. There's no, in Hinduism or there's no central text that you have to believe. So that has allowed a far richer development, and there's so many different aspects of Hinduism. I mean, so many different forms of Hinduism. There's the Bhakti, there's the yoga, there's the Buddhism, there's the Sikhism. All these are all part of this of that big family of religions, which different aspects of it appeal to different people. So in that sense, I feel far more affinity for that family of religions than any other.
Yes, I could make out that.
But I wouldn't, if someone asked me what my religion is, I used to sometimes say Hindu, but then I don't know what it means to say I'm a Hindu, because obviously I wasn't born a Hindu. I don't consider Bhagavan to be a Hindu, though obviously he lived within a Hindu context, but he had devotees coming from all sorts of religious backgrounds, Muslims, Christians, Sikhs, all Buddhists. So I think it's limiting Bhagavan to say that to consider him as a Hindu guru. I think Bhagavan, he transcends all religion.
Definitely. So what do these Chinese believe in? Do they believe in Buddhism or what?
Some Chinese, the indigenous, but again, Chinese beliefs, it again challenges the definition of religion, because it's quite different to Western, to other types of religion. But I mean, basically they have Confucianism and they have Taoism. They're the main indigenous religions. Buddhism was later imported from India, so a lot of Chinese became Buddhists. But Buddhism and Taoism, in many ways, they blended, and that so there's a sort of quite an overlap between Buddhism and Taoism. So I think in China you could follow Confucianism and Taoism and Buddhism without seeing a conflict between them. But each deals with a different aspect of life, so to say.
Okay, so there is a trivia question now. I have found you wearing most of the time this orange colored shirts, orange or brown or ochre. So has it got something to do with your inner renunciation, which is reflecting your shirt?
It has no connection. If I wear white, it gets stained. So this.
Okay. No, but your favorite color is orange or ochre, or this what you're wearing today, brown or something.
Sometimes I wear orange or green or blue or whatever.
Yeah, sometimes, most of the time, 70–80% of the time, you are wearing a shirt which the traditional sannyasis wear.
It has absolutely no significance.
So I thought it's reflecting your inner state of mind.
No, because outwardly, my outward life is not the life of a renunciate. So I wouldn't even pretend I'm a sannyasi, because according to Bhagavan, the renunciation that is required is the renunciation of ego. I haven't yet renounced ego, so I can't claim to be a renunciate.
Okay, sir. So the last question from my side is, what's happening at your blog, sir? Any idea about the comment sections restarting, or you closed it for good?
I think it's closed for good.
Good, sir. Then it's very good. Bhagwan's will. Because when it happened, I had phoned you and I was really disturbed. But what has Michael done to me? He stabbed me. He's taken away my livelihood. He's taken away all my interest. But now I feel, sir, it's better not to have that comment section, because it was getting too much. So it's much more better. In a spiritual path, we don't need all those. We don't need.
Regarding Hinduism, this is just a final comment. Though Hinduism is a very, very rich culture, and it's been spiritually, it's produced so much richness.
Yes.
I wouldn't be so naive as to paint an all rosy picture of Hinduism, because any culture is made of people, and as people, we are all imperfect. So there are so many imperfections in Hindu culture. So when I talk about the richness of it, I'm not. I don't mean to overlook all the shortcomings also.
Yeah, definitely, sir. We can see the shortcomings, like in the present.
But that's just because human nature is human nature.
Oh, definitely, because now the fundamentalism is rising in Hinduism. And competing with the other fundamentalist these religions. So the present Hindu religion is not that all rosy. But definitely we have got a very rich past. And a very deep and rich culture, definitely. Thanks a lot, sir.
Okay, pleasure.
Namo Ramana, sir.
Namo Ramana.